Dr. Kahura Mundia, will be speaking about investing in health innovation and technology-driven service delivery. So an abridged version of our speaker's profile is that Dr. Kahura Mundia is a facial surgeon and health system governance consultant with over 12 years experience in dentistry and healthcare leadership. He is a deputy national chairperson of the Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union, and an honorary lecturer of medical law and ethics at the University of Nairobi. He also leads the Dentcare Kenya Foundation, a non-profit providing oral health care to underserved communities, and is a passionate advocate for social justice and inclusive healthcare policy. So ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Dr. Kahura as he takes the stage. Karibu sana daktari.
Thank you. The slides are ready. Good morning. You're all well? And you are not having your hearts running too fast from the little cardio you've done. Okay, thank you. As you've heard, my name is Dr. Kahura Mundia, and I am happy to be here with you today. I am in many areas of practice, and today I want to, with my colleague earlier the other day, Dr. Gikonyo, he did share much about what we do in the healthcare space. And it's time maybe ourselves as doctors made healthcare more understandable to Kenyans and ourselves so that we make and drive that change that we desire to have in Kenya. So that's why I'm here today to share about some of these things that occur in our spaces. And every day, you probably have seen some of us, myself, in the streets, theaters, just advocating for healthcare as it should be, as per that Article 43, 1A of the Constitution, what it states, that everyone is entitled to the highest attainable standard of healthcare. All of us, whether you have money or you don't have money, that should be accorded to you. And that's where the government of the day tries really hard. They try really hard, and we keep them on check as civil societies, because sometimes they don't want to do the right thing, and there is no one to remind them. And that's why we have to speak up, because that good that comes out of that effect is what we all enjoy today for our children and the future persons to come. So I serve at the Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Union. I'm the National Vice Chairperson, as well as the Kenya Dental Association. I'm the Vice President in that professional society. So it runs the same way as ICS. Those are my trainings. I'm a surgeon, I'm a dentist. I've done IT, I've done an ABA, did law. Prof was my lecturer. There is a lot that we do, and I've been trying to venture now into arbitration, but we will deal with that when that time comes. Thank you. So, as the slides come on, what we're looking at today is healthcare governance. What it all means as regards that thing that we call healthcare. What is healthcare? So I would want to give an analogy that healthcare is like any 4x4 vehicle. Like 4x4 vehicle, because if it's not a 4x4 vehicle, probably it will not go through all terrains as it should. Thank you. So that's a picture of me in theater. And apologies for the persons that try to make them less gory for you to see what some of the things that we do. So being a facial surgeon, that is what I do on the extreme left. And that's my patient now who's fully bearded post-recovery. So these are things that we look at today. The relevant laws that guarantee ourselves the right to healthcare. The healthcare frameworks that exist world over as to why we want to be that Singapore. Why do we want to be Singapore? Because there are things that they did, and they claim they have learned some of the changes in healthcare financing from Kenya. Because in 1965, we had NHIF. And some of these countries came to visit to find out what were we doing with the NHIF that it was working for our people back then, as they thought it was working. And over time, they built the structures and they bettered them, and now they're enjoying some things that are better than we have today. So we'll assess some of the governance reforms, a little bit on technology, and then we'll think about the way forward and the future. So that's what I was talking about, a 4x4 vehicle, going through all terrains with 4 wheels and a driver and probably a direction as to where that vehicle should be going. Well, if this vehicle was lacking one of the wheels, it will not move. If the driver is unconscious, it will not move. If there is no direction as to where that vehicle should be headed to, it will not move. So everything in healthcare is in that picture. I'd give that analogy. And there are principles that have been studied world over by WHO and other bodies in the United Nations. And when they say we lack vision, we lack leadership, well, we'll have the vehicle, yes, but the person inside there and the occupants will not be ferried where they're supposed to go. So if the tarmac again, or the places where the vehicle is going to go through, is all rigged up, then nothing, we don't enjoy anything as a healthcare. So that's the kind of situation that I want to give on. But I will talk about that model again. So these are things that we want to look at. Why do we want healthcare? Because healthcare is a core driver of economic development. And when healthcare is trained out, whatever money you make, you're taking it to the hospital, you're taking it to the drugs, you have no peace of mind because you have to struggle to foot for healthcare that is very expensive. And healthcare world over is quite expensive. That's why after World War, the British people decided to form the National Health Insurance, or the National Health System. Because it did work for them, and they saw that this is a painful thing and we need to secure and protect our people. So they set up the NHS. The US has never. And if you've been in the US, you will be exposed to such hardships. Because health insurance is a big, big problem. But they have the affordable Obamacare, and they're still trying to tweak it around to see whether it works for them and other covers as well. So why do we need governance reforms in Kenya? And these things have been with us today. You've heard about NHIF. You've had the Ministry of Health since 1963. Those 3 things that the first president said, ignorance, disease, and poverty. We are still there, 60 years later. We have directorates of health under the Health Act as to how healthcare should be enjoyed and distributed to everyone in the country. Then we have a new thing that came up, 2010. It's 13 years, is it 20? This is 15 years now. Are we enjoying the fruits of devolution as regards healthcare service delivery? Some would say yes, some would say no, and there are issues all over the place, but we keep moving because we have to streamline that to give us what we want. Then we have the Health Act. For the first time before 2017, you have never had a health law in the country. Never, ever had. It was freestyle every day. So things just used to move in different components, and whoever will think of, let's start up that, they start it up. That's why we have over 25 laws in healthcare. Over 25 healthcare laws. But this one of 2017 tries to streamline things to bring some semblance of order. That's why we have now for the first time the Director General coming in to try and guide and be the technical advisor to the government. This was not happening. So there's a minister, there are PSS, but they are not structured legally to strictly follow if to be textual in nature. So we have different bodies that have been set up in the Health Act. And these bodies generate policies. And if those policies, through public participation, they're taken through us, we build up structures that help us. And that's the direction we keep on going. So these reforms have been with us because we want to have that efficient care, that effective care, that access to quality services. No one wants to be seen by a quack. So tomorrow you'll go somewhere, and someone will masquerade and act like the doctor, and they will put on a white coat, and they'll do funny things on you. And when they do funny things on you, it is going to be expensive, because when you see the real doctors, it's a repeat of the job, more bed stays, and more costs. That is not what you want. Cost reduction, it is what the government has been trying to work on. By trying to say social health insurance covers all of us. Because that social health insurance, if it's government funded, or if it is employer funded, or from any other sources, then it does work. But for now, we have other economic problems that are causing that social health insurance to not move. So healthcare financing is one of the wheels to that vehicle. Healthcare financing, a wheel of one of those vehicles. So if that wheel of healthcare financing is not there, we will not go where we want to go with that truck. We looked at the challenges in the healthcare sector. We have corruption, which has always been either fabric or something that is just present here. But we speak out about it. Recently, you've heard, since 2023, about Adani, about Shah. Why did we have to change the systems? Where the mess equipment is being procured to the counties? So all these things affect and lose resources that should be used in a beneficial way. So, but we'll talk about that as time goes by. And why do we need to cure and fix some of these things? So those are the things that we're going through. So a healthcare system, definition is up there. What it all consists. All of us constitute that healthcare system. We are the occupants in that truck. We are the occupants in that bus that's going somewhere to deliver healthcare. So if we're just waiting in there, we are not talking to the driver, we're not saying anything about it, we will not get the benefits that we all deserve in that healthcare package. And the function is all to get these things: preventive, promotive, curative, and rehabilitative interventions. Because that's the definition of healthcare, the holistic wellness of the body. And there are many components that affect some of those things. And those are known as social determinants of healthcare. So healthcare governance is what we speak about, trying to streamline the different components, the different moving parts in the healthcare space. Because today you want to talk about doctors striking, you want to talk about interns. We've been on the streets for the last, since even during my time, I finished my internship in 2010. And we still went on streets to strike about internship. Now this is 15 years of striking about the same thing. HR. What is happening with this HR? We've never had structures. We've never had a policy that probably guides this and that. But one time the union came up, that's KMPDU, in 2010. And it did struggle with the strikes of those past years and settled with the government that we will never ever have any other strikes like we've had in the past. And we settled on an agreement on compensation packages and benefits for the doctors. Because without doctors, you have no person to give you that care. But we have seen the government of the day and events happening that they want to even breach some of those agreements. Now, when you affect people's interests socioeconomically, they will rebel. And they will rebel as we have always been doing. Because it's not right to retrogress us to the years of 2002. 2002 is a long time ago. I was in, I think, Form 1. Now, the doctors of that time and the doctors of today, you want to tell them, let me pay you like them that many years ago. It will not work in any progressive, moving society. So we have some of those things that we have been achieving or trying to go through, the UHC, as guided by the SDG number 3. So it's a principle that starts at the world's page. And out of that, we bring in UHC, we bring in social health insurance, and we want to achieve that. And each government tries, not just Kenya. Tanzania is trying. South Africa is trying. As we're speaking today, South Africa unions are going to court about their social health insurance. Because they're also feeling this thing will not work. But it is in the context of their spaces, and they want to make it work for them. So different countries, different agendas, but all to achieve that SDG 3 from the 2015 period. So the different elements of governance, is it governance at the institution level, governance in general, or governance for just a particular service? Do you want to be seen by a quack? Or do you want to make sure that your patients leave theater and 3 days later they are back home and they're having successful outcomes? Or do you want patients staying in your hospitals for 30 days? Now, if you're CS in one of the hospitals and your patients are staying there for 30 days, we have problems if they're simple curable issues. Because if the systems in the particular hospital are not working, then you have patients doing long bed stays, paying more for healthcare, and healthcare becomes more expensive. So there are many moving parts, and all this must be controlled. There is what we talk about capture of health policy. Now, if every government stage coming up, sometimes change is good, sometimes small increments are good, but sometimes you can just be taken like with a big surprise. It has never happened, and this is what happened in 2022 and 2023. We've overhauled most of our healthcare financing systems. And that's how we transitioned from NHIF to social health insurance. So we are still grappling with that change. It is doable, but with the issues of the history of corruption, of procurement of those systems, how those laws were done without public participation, as Article 10 says, then we have problems. We've gone to court, we have won, the courts have also played games on us, but we still move as a people because we all want the same thing. Well, the courts try to supervise the processes, and we achieve something sometimes, and we have to move. So why are we having these healthcare issues, and where should healthcare be enjoyed? Is it at the public space or in the private space, or both of them? Should it be complementary? And should it be profit-driven in that private hospitals or institutions advance the agenda? You've heard about the private hospitals that probably pushed or propelled the current presidents to change the healthcare laws regarding financing. Because in healthcare financing, there is money. And if that money is channeled to the private sector, then the other sector, if it's not well efficient and well organized, then they don't participate or benefit in that system. So who should be a watcher of the people as regards some of these things? In some countries, we only have like 90% of healthcare being enjoyed at the public space. And there is very few private players. But in Kenya, we're having like a 50-50 situation. It does work. Different interests once in a while. And all we want is that goals to align in regards to our healthcare. So that's our third Secretary General in the Union. And he's recently been appointed, and he speaks about that. There's some things we were working with the Transparency International as to why we have all these problems in healthcare. There are so many issues. You go to the hospital, a quack sees you. You go to the hospital, there's no doctor. That lack of a doctor is part of that corruption index assessment. That equipment breaking down without maintenance and supplies, it's part of our corruption index. So that procurement officer who does not bring as many packets of maybe normal saline as he should, part of corruption index. So there's so many things that are happening in the healthcare space that if you don't watch, they all have an impact to the overall things that we enjoy in healthcare. So some of the things that affect healthcare in general, in whatever space you are in, the lack of that school near you, that road, that bridge that is swept away by floods, it affects your healthcare outcomes. Because you have no way to access those services. Well, there's a nearby hospital, maybe like 30 kilometers away, but you cannot move there. Maybe you don't even have money, you're not employed. That lack of an employment, it affects how you enjoy healthcare. SHA says you must contribute even if you're not employed. Now, I don't know how that makes sense, that you must make contribution to SHA even without any forms of employment or income. And the government says, we will pay for you, but it's not ready to come out clean and say it will pay for your social health insurance. Even in NHIF, it was not paying for everyone. It was only for the elderly and the orphans and under the Linda Mama. And even then, the government gives very little. So when you give very little to a very big pool of needs, then things don't work out. That's why you have different groups, different advocates speaking about these issues as they keep doing. Then there's that aspect of commercial determinants of health. So it's part of social determinants of health. And this is about now the aspects of lobbying. Who's driving interest where? Who's paying? I've seen Kenyans there outside, and I've teased them whether they do regular revocation or suspensions of their standards accreditation. Because if they claim, as a Kenyan standard authority to accredit institutions, that everyone is accredited, so what, we are happy, do they go back and check those things? Because if institutions are claiming all these accreditation certifications because they pay, I saw it's like 80,000 to Kenyans. Now it's a source of revenue for them. But do they go back to fight their source of revenue? Especially if they're not meeting their standards. And recently, there are issues that are happening. You've seen the new CS suspend foreign doctors coming in, the issues of kidney harvesting and all that. But Kenyans is happy with their certification and accreditation. And apologies to my very good friend. I don't know whether he's seated today. But those are issues that we need to speak about. Because if that standard body is checking what is supposed to be happening, then some of these things will not be going on as they are. Then you have that example of horizontal programs and vertical programs. Who funds your healthcare? Should we fund our healthcare as a people? Or should we outsiders fund our healthcare? And should outsiders drive our agendas to where we're going as a country? USAID pulled out, and we were very panicky the other day in January. Because we are like, how do we fund HIV? How do we fund malaria and TB and other programs? Because we are dependent on them. And for all those years, we don't just want to put our money where our needs are. Maybe, I don't know, it's either the loans are too heavy and you don't have enough money, but they're things that we can all speak about and have things moving in our country. So the reason why we're doing this is because we want a healthcare system that works and that addresses all these issues in a way that it is equitable for all of us. Whether you have money, whether you're orphaned, you are old, you are retired, you have no pension, that healthcare system should serve you. So we want to look at where the anchoring of all these healthcare issues come up at. And there's all that list. All those laws, as many as they are, like I said, 25 plus, they speak to something. KEMSA, you've heard about KEMSA. That one day one of us was walking by KEMSA and they got a tender to supply masks and other products. Well, people are lucky sometimes, but that is life. When you have Pharmacy and Poisons Act, do they give licenses to fake drugs to accredit them to come in? Now, when you bring in fake drugs in tons and tons, who is going to consume those things? They're called placebos. They are sold to you at a cost, but they will not help you. So your outcomes keep on worsening. But people want to just drive for profit. You beat costs because you just want that to happen. Talked about the regulator. You have the Clinical Officers Council, the Nursing Council. That is for the professional regulation. They give licenses to doctors. They accredit institutions that are training doctors and nurses and clinical officers. Should they give this to anybody? The other day, Nursing Council went on TV last week, and there was a college somewhere that was claiming to train nurses. And they said, no, you don't train nurses. Revoke and you're suspended. So even the police force, they're not doing probably the work as to check who's training who. Because anyone who wants to start a business, you paint the walls. Today you have what, XXY, nursing school or medical school, and you bring in students because you want to collect their fees. Assemble a curriculum and have funny people coming out. And then at the other end, you streamline the whole journey from training to the licensing authority. You start issuing licenses to even persons who are not even well qualified. So the outcomes are here with us. You keep on complaining doctors are bad, doctors are doing this and that. But some of these people probably, the system just played a game to all of us. So we must all look out for that good governance. So Healthcare Act, stated there. Cancer Prevention Act is that menace that is coming up today. What is the government doing about it? Do you know in Kenya we have like about 4 radiotherapy units in the country. There's supposed to be 7 by 2022, but only like 4 are functional. And these things are not expensive. I'm a surgeon, I deal with cancer every day, and I really struggle to tell patients that there is nothing I can do. You have to travel to Nairobi. You have to go to either Mombasa or go to Meru or Nakuru. The other places, you have your governors and your voters in those regions. What are they doing? These machines are not that expensive. And they don't have to be bought. They can be leased if there's no money. But I don't know. Something just happens not right in the country. So we have employment laws that govern the HR people, the human resource in the healthcare space. And we have enjoyed that space. Because somehow when we sit in that labor space, we fight for patients. Because if a doctor is not satisfied with whatever he's doing, because he knows in the next day he'll be the one in that line. He'll not have any money to pay for his needs in medical. And if he speaks out, he's well compensated, he does his job without any distractions. Now you have doctors without health insurance. The other day in Kenyatta there's a doctor who did not have health insurance. He's a doctor in training. And this is a master's training. You're trained to be a super specialist in the next like 6 years. And come and attend to Kenyans, but whoever posted you or put you there doesn't care about your welfare. So things don't work out right, and that's how some of these persons succumb. Then we have 2023. That's a major shift, the major reforms that have happened. They are good, I would say, because we brought in the Digital Health Act, the Primary Healthcare Act, and for once, we've had FIF Act. That's a Facility Improvement Fund. For all the time all money is collected at the facilities, you know about on-cess revenue. All the CSs and the county governors, all they want to do is to show or compete against the counties and show who's making the lot most as per the county governments. And most of that money comes from healthcare. Healthcare and the permits that are being given the businesses and in the county regions are the ones that are making that on-source revenue, most of it. But that money again was going to fix roads. From healthcare, it's made in healthcare spaces and goes to fix roads, or goes for conferences and benchmarking abroad. The facilities are left unattended. And that's why the national government chose to come up with that FIF Act to try and lock money that is collected at the institution to stay at the institution to improve services for you. But the governor says, no, that money still has to come out because the exchequer has delayed or whatever. So we have issues to fix. And then you have the PFM Act, which controls how that money is managed, the County Government Act, and the Public, Private, and Partnerships Act, and again, the universities regulation and that. So I've spoken about that, what they do. They do licensing and maintenance of standards and norms. And then there's the KNAS now, which checks on some of these things that if they're happening. And then you have the ombudsman, the CAJ office, who also helps us in that governance that we want. Because some of these institutions, they're supposed to follow the law. The administrators, either by design or by malfeasance, nonfeasance, I don't know, it's either a Kenyan thing or maybe don't have many lawyers. And maybe I should be speaking that all of us should probably study the law. And it's good that Senior has really done his part. I also did study my law recently at University of Nairobi. You did teach me in some of the units. And that law that we all study, most Kenyans should understand it. Because if most Kenyans understand the law, then we will not be gamed everywhere by everyone. We'll be able to speak about issues. And ourselves as advocates, persons who understand some of these things, we speak louder to streamline things in the society. So it will not be me every day. Or the union. If KMPDU goes, who will speak about you? KMA, there is Kenya Medical Association, KDA, Pharmacist Association. Who else? That's why we want to partner with ICJ, partner with ICS, partner with as many persons and make sure that healthcare is understood by all of us. Because if you understand it, we all speak the same language. You know someone is gaming us, something is not going right. So that's what the new CS has done. Well, he's quite active, I would say. In 2 weeks' time, he's done quite a number of optics, if we call it that way. But the things that move towards change, we just hope that it is achievable and everyone who's going below him will follow the law and abide by it. But sometimes maybe you want someone who's tough, someone who pushes it through. Because if you have persons who probably have just come to office and wait, they will know, either they don't understand the law. He's experienced, I would say. And if you have persons who are not probably well-versed in their matters, then we stagnate for quite some time. So I'd want to give him some accolades for some of these things that he's trying to push. And he speaks strongly about it. We just hope not to campaign for any person. We just hope that he achieves his mandates as per the Ministry of Health objectives, because that will be the benefit for all of us. Those are some of the things that happen under the Health Act. They have the Director General functions, and there is an intergovernmental summit and correlations and the coordination that coordinates functions between the national and county government. And as per Schedule 4, the national government has roles assigned to it, and the county governments have roles assigned to it. And if there is disconnect, there is no communication between the two levels of government, then you have all these chaos. One day we say the county governments are in charge of primary health care. The next day we say, no, there is no devolution, we will supervise you because we are your father, that's the national government. And the county governments, the council of governors fight back, and they don't support some of these programs. So that tussle, we must just find a way as per the structure of the law as it states. We have that recent entry, PCNs, primary health care networks. Like I say, the county governments are supposed to set up this. And recently I've seen the Kenya Gazette, some of the county governments, they are gazetting places near you where you should first attend your first point of care. Because in Kenya, we've not had structures. Anyone will just go to Kenyatta, to a level 6, and not start at a primary care level, where your basic issues of malaria, a bad stomach or a headache or something, they can be managed there rather than just going to queue and clog the referral institutions. But because there's no one to guide the process, that happens. So when you clog up where there's tertiary care, then who attends to the lower levels? And then the lower levels, when they see that, and the administrators see that, then they don't support the lower level institutions. So healthcare must work in a way that is designed. And the design is in the healthcare Schedule 1 of the Health Act. That says level 1 is this, level 2 is this, level 3 is this, and level 6 is the tertiary institutions. Then we have that digital health. So are we in a digital age, really, in Kenya? I would ask. Has any of you seen a doctor online on your phone, gone to the website and refused to attend a physical session? Well, digital health is here, but traditionally, medical area has been very conservative. So we're not ready to just click an app and say you're going to stay at home and get drugs SMS to you, the WhatsApp, and then you take them and you feel satisfied. There is that aspect that we still have to go by, that to overcome that traditional structure of healthcare access. So, but in days to come, we will try to modulate or moderate the two ways of access. And that's why we have telemedicine, teleradiology, all those things of tele, E is electronic or online, and M is mobile, when mobile phones were being used to just send messages and tell you, this is your malaria medications, take this and that. So we have this for TBs, persons, the CCC clinics in the HIV units, they're using mHealth a lot because you want to track compliance. Because if patients are not compliant, then you as doctors, you don't have no metrics as to what you're up to. Then in the Digital Health Act is that framework that marries now with what the Data Protection Act of 2019 was talking about. Should our data be exported to other people? Should doctors in Pakistan, Egypt, see you without licensure in Kenya? Should Kenyan doctors see patients in the UK without getting licensed in the UK? So this kind of framework speaks to some of these things. But countries are very protective, and cross-border practice is not really a thing regarding medical healthcare access. So we are still struggling. But there are persons who try to circumvent the systems legally, but I think it's illegal, that you go for an MRI scan, a CT scan, and it's exported out without your consent to someone who harvests the data on the other side and uses AI, interprets with AI that report and sends it to you because you want to beat costs. And those people are more aggressive in pushing for business for themselves. And our regulators are here. Our data commissioner is here. We must all be looking out. We saw WorldCoin the other day, what they were up to. So there's plenty of things that are happening in the health space with things that are interconnected in one way or the other. So on that space still, HMIS, the other day when there was a 104 billion issue, there's a newspaper splash, 104 on SHA, and why SHA and DHA. DHA is the Digital Health Authority, which is a platform that was somehow put up by the 3 persons who should say they are best programmers in the world, and they can deliver us that healthcare system. Well, it didn't happen, sorry to say. They had to forget all that and look for a local company programmer to put up a structure that resembles what NHIF was giving. And that's a system that you're still using. And they're still building and programming it as you speak. So healthcare cannot be imagined by setting costs up front, paying, and then just saying, that is it, and let's move. So sometimes we build up on what we have. So that's the Health Act. The Pharmacy and Poisons Act, it's all about drugs and pharmacies. But recently, they're having this Kenya Health Products and Technologies Bill of 2024. They want to have products, equipment separated from the humans. And there's business there. And that's why you have medical, essential supplies and all that. If there are games there, we lose a lot of revenue, we lose a lot of money and capital there. And we have equipment that is probably not working, equipment without users. Because again, if you bring in very expensive equipment and you have not trained your people to use it, who will use some of these things? So we must go hand in hand. You build a structure, equip it, and staff it. But for campaigns and re-elections, what do you want to do? You build, take pictures, and gather a few people and clap and open the ceremony. But you've not put on people in there. So if there are no people, there's no HR, then the services will not be realized. There's a KEMSA Act. There have been fights about it, and issues of stockouts, overpricing, and quality issues. But this ecosystem does not function if we, again, don't check some of these things. If the counties keep procuring, they claim this exchequer has not funded them. There is no restocking, and KEMSA keeps on to say, we are there, we're just existing. So cycles of payments must be observed. Because if they're not observed, well, we're just crashing everything. Suppliers are not paid, doctors are not paid. No one wants to move, and we'll keep on complaining and amplify some of these issues. And we suffer if we don't follow the law as it should be. That's us the other day. We had gone to remind SHA. This time, there is what the national government has done for the civil servants. They provide healthcare. And that healthcare is subsidized in a way, because civil servants have for a long time been remitting part of their monies far back even before 2009, towards a medical cover. And that money is what is now added to SHA contributions and provides some little extra benefit to civil servants. So it's not like the civil servants are favored people. No. They pay extra on that SHA, and they have pulled that money aside, and they have now managed last year to gazette a regulation that exists as a public officers' health medical fund. Because you don't want your civil servants exposed like probably everyone. You need some caution for something. But that, if that is good for civil servants, then it should be good for everyone. So we should not be having type A and type B kind of class of people. That's why we've had persons complain, why them and not us? If SHA is failing for us, why are they being favored because they're civil servants or public officers? So if healthcare is to be enjoyed by all of us, we should all enjoy the same serving. So it's a journey to arrive there, and we all must speak up. If you are satisfied, don't just keep quiet and let your neighbor, probably who's not a civil servant, get exposed to such hardships. And that's why we keep on speaking up on the same issues. That's the aspect of the labor laws. That's the space that we speak at, and we engage at that. And the PSC has been doing a good job trying to streamline some of these things and support public service operations. SRC, we're still a loggerhead with it. We all probably know why. But maybe one day we'll see how best to deal with them. We have healthcare financing. It's a very major issue. And that's why we had that major reforms under the Social Health Act. For a long time, NHIF was never regulated by IRA. It was just freestyle. They collect, they use the money, and they move. No risk modeling, no proper underwriting. It's just business as usual. And that's why they'd say they'd go into such big loss ratios, and there was nothing that was happening to try and streamline that. And even as we're speaking now with the new reforms, they have still maintained their independence. Now, the National Treasury, the CS would always waive them from the eye of the IRA. Now, the person who's supposed to check your governance issues is not doing that. And you're left to collect monies and you move as you want. That's why you'd find even clerk officers moving with helicopters. It's a funny country sometimes. So, but we moved to check those NHIF controls and exemptions, which should have been incorporated in the Social Health Insurance Act. But it will come. They say there are amendments that are being worked on, and maybe they will consider to have some of those things coming up. We have that aspect of competition law and consumer protection in the country. And here we are having issues of who sets the standards of care. Well, the Competition Authority says they have a role so that you enjoy that high sustainable standard of care. And your insurance company, that private Jubilee, MKL, whoever, you've seen police officers complaining about that cover, or the TSCs complaining about that cover. It's with a good reason. Abuse of buyer power is about the aspect of imbalanced power. Hospitals are complaining, providers are complaining. Bills have not been paid. Jubilee is not paying. Madison is not paying. Who's the other cover? AR is not paying. Where is this money being collected going? And because you're a payer, you use your monopoly power to not pay the providers. That affects how healthcare is enjoyed. And that's where aspects of abuse of buyer power comes up. I talked about that. That's the amount that was used, about 104. Not really, but it was supposed to be prorated for 10 years. I don't know how they were going to do it. That's the PFM Act, how it guides us. That's the county government and the roles of the different persons working in there. So they emulate a structure of the Ministry of Health. So the directorates at the Ministry of Health, they go down to the county governments. And they have the CSAs and the CECs and the chief officers in charge of health. They're all supposed to speak in one language and to deliver that healthcare to all of us. So if at the county level things are not working, you have the county ministers of health. We engage them. In those forums, you attend those budgeting meetings. Because it seems like we don't have time to attend the budgeting meetings. So Mama Mboga ndio anaenda kwa budget meeting peke yake. So they will not probably understand some of these things. And that's why we ourselves, together with them, we speak there and we check those budgets at the county levels and streamline structures so that benefits can trickle down to everyone. You have the PPPs, where things are very expensive. Machines, services are not accessible. Sometimes there's that framework that is used from 2021 to allow like Aga Khan or Mata to bring an MRI machine. You have very few MRI machines in the country. And to partner and share revenues so that services are accessible to everyone. You have labs always breaking down in the county governments for facilities. Supplies are never there. So you partner with the manufacturer of this machine and the reagents and tell them, place it here. I will not pay you. But I'll pay a little as we use and you take your machines if they become obsolete. But today we say, no, give us 200 million, we buy this machine because this machine is good. 2 years later, it's broken down. There is no pieces to repair. We want another 200 million to buy another machine. So sometimes healthcare is just consumptive by a lot. And if you don't want to be efficient, you'll keep on buying things and stocking them up there and selling them as scrap after a few years. So if you don't want to keep buying, you just tell the manufacturer of those things, place them. We'll pay as we use. They're yours. If they don't work, you take them, you replace them as the new technologies evolves. Universities control that, regulations and degrees, and then we have that framework I talked about. So these elements, these things that we see here, service delivery, healthcare workforce, that's a human resource. Health information systems, that's that SHA system. But it was not under SHA, it was under the new law of Digital Health Act, that's DHA. So they never got a lot of hit, but SHA got the hit in their place. Yet the tenders were being taken to the other side, but still under the Ministry of Health. access to essential medicines, the supplies, they must be there. If KEMSA is not supplying drugs, they're not available at Meds. Meds is another private supplier of medications. If those suppliers are not paid, that vehicle will not move. And the key components, like I said, leadership and governance, the driver in the vehicle, financing, one of the wheels, the access to medicines, one of the other wheels, health information is one of the other wheels, and then the workforce, another wheel. And that aspect that we enjoy, that ride that we enjoy, is a trip in that bus, the trip in that truck, in that highway, in that terrain. If all those things are not functional, then all these things don't happen. We keep having breakdowns all the places. We want to change this, argue about this. We stall along the way, and years go by, and we lose lives in that kind of journey, those kind of games. And it's sometimes very sad. So those are the building blocks. And then there are different models that are used to assess healthcare. Should healthcare be available to you and in the right speed? Before devolution, facilities were very sparse out in the county government. But the county governments have done well to try and set up some facilities such that up to 5-10 kilometers there's a facility near you, even if it's a health dispensary. Because if you are to travel really long distances as a mother who is in obstetric care emergencies, you will lose your child. Because you have to cross rivers, take a motorbike that comes like an hour later, and really struggle as a mother. So those roads must work. And that access has been made possible by having facilities nearby through devolution. So accessibility is that healthcare giver to be available to all of us. You don't have enough doctors. We have about 10,000. And 10,000 is a general number. There are different specialties. In my specialty, we are 35 in the country. So being a face surgeon, as many cancers, as many traumas, now our young men, they're on the roads with motorbikes, without helmets. Every day they are crashing. Who's going to fix all their jaws? No one. Because if I'm in Kitui, I'm in Mombasa, I'm in somewhere else, and there's no doctor, maybe at Turkana, there's no doctor at Lamu, they have to travel. That access and that availability becomes a challenge. And it frustrates persons. So more doctors should be trained, more specialization should be supported so that we have enough ratios. In many countries, doctors to patient ratios are well distributed. The other day we heard that we have so many obstetricians on TV from the CS. It was the most absurd thing. 1,500 for 55 million people and about, I think it's 20 million or 22 million women with 1,500 doctors. Well, you can do the math, you see how funny it comes out. So access, cost, and quality. That's the other aspect. You want to give care that is accessible, care that is affordable, and care that is of the best quality. And the government and other persons in the world space, they try to work that model. They try to see, should we lower the cost of the person giving care? Should we undertrain them so that they're easy to come out and they're more affordable as HR and you afford cheaper care? But now these persons, because if you shorten their times of training, then they don't come out as highly qualified to provide you with that care that you deserve. In some of these advanced countries, some of those services are not done by anybody because it's a technical science and it needs to be maintained as it is. But the experiments have been tried and some places it is working and such is it. STEP model. Healthcare should be safe, timely, effective, efficient, equitable, patient-centered because all those things, if the aspects are not met, patient satisfaction is affected. That disgruntlement, you've gone to the receptionist and they're very rude to you. The nurse officer is very rude to you. They've told you, you think you're Spider-Man, you're crawling on the walls here. You're not going to scream here. You keep quiet. So those kind of comments affect patient psyche. And that model helps to make sure that healthcare is of the best outcome and experience. It should not be a place where you just feel to suffer. You have no money, everyone is very rude. There are no supplies, you have been told, go buy there, come back. It's not here, we're not going to do it, come tomorrow. Those frustrations should not happen. That's why that governance must work. And the interaction of these framework models gives us that healthcare that we should all enjoy. This was the other day. These are young doctors. I don't know who will treat some of us when you grow old. Because the many issues with chaos we create in the healthcare space, these young people get very disgruntled. And they leave. And they quit. They go sell tomatoes. They start using motorbikes. Because healthcare now is becoming very stressful to be there as a practitioner. Because after school, after internship, they're on their own. For the last 10 years, since 2015, county governments are not recruiting. They keep saying wage bill. That's true, wage bill, yes. Because doctors are expensive and the resource allocations from the National Treasury is not adequate. And the county governments are not making enough. So where should the young doctors go? We retire, we go. They're not replaced. So we'll reach a situation whereby the HR aspect will be affected much in the years to come. Because there is no sustainability of how you're training persons, checking numbers, and having the system replenish itself. It used to somehow work before 2010, but because of that independence and separation of governments, everyone says they want more casuals. Now, should professionals be casuals as CSS persons? Like you're a doctor, you come for a gig, like an Uber driver, and go home. Now, such kind of things, there are effects to it in years to come. So some of the things that you need to do, make sure that you have efficient resource allocation, transparent budgeting. Because without that transparent budgeting, equipment, drugs, HR, you have ghost workers in some of these county governments. And they're the ones bloating these wage bills. And every governor comes with their own set of people. And they have ghosts to just pay and just enjoy. Because someone just wants extra money on the side. I don't know money to do what, but maybe it's for the next re-election. We want to reduce corruption, and that's why on the Transparency Index, through other bodies and civil societies, we are working to expose what really happens in healthcare. Why is money getting lost? What is happening? What is not going right? So there are those examples that have happened elsewhere. Devolution has happened in other countries. Devolution has also been reversed in other countries because we are all in a state of flux in the legal space. So things are not fixed in stone. Spain have had devolution. They reversed it. Philippines as well. Brazil has had it. It's working. So we keep on shuttling between this as a people, and in years to come, we somehow find a balance and settle for it. PPPs are working in countries like India and other countries as well. We have e-governance. Estonia, they even do online elections. Are we there yet? Online elections. Maybe 2027 is here. We will see whether they're ready. IBC is selecting their people. We have Thailand, Singapore, Morocco. Those first three countries, UHC is working. Thank you. And we have Ghana, Tanzania, South Africa. Ghana tried UHC, and they went into the headwinds. They were not able to sustain it. We're also having similar problems because our unemployed people, our indigents, our informal sector is not contributing towards SHA. And we want them to bring and come on board. We have very few employed people formally, and those are some of the things that we have to speak about. Should we use general taxes? Or should we use labor taxes, like just tax the employed people? Tax them even 5%. 2.75% is not enough because healthcare must work. But you are strained out even if you take up 5%. Rwanda, it's 15%, goes to pension, goes to healthcare, and they distribute equally. In Kenya, we have taxes for different things. So should we balance and rework how some of these models are working out? So in technology, we have also those things that I've talked about. There's AI now here. And that is what we are trying to struggle with. So the healthcare infrastructure is that system that they talked about, the 104 system, that tries to connect suppliers, producers, HR, patients. Those CHPs, you need to see them. You need to know who's your CHP near you. You just Google on your phone and check. But that information is still not yet available. But you should know who is your CHP for door-to-door work and treatment. Some of the things that have happened in the healthcare space, privately, you have that MTBA, Semadoc. They're trying to reach out to you through the phones, through the internet, to make sure that healthcare is accessible to you. But we are still not yet accepting how it is happening. So again, our mothers in the villages, do they have those phones? Do they have WhatsApp? Do they know how to use it? Telegram? Now, if they don't, then even that model is not working for anybody. It's just there for the social entrepreneurs. In conclusion, we must do strategic investments in healthcare. We must build equity for everyone. We must leverage technology and try to make sure that everyone is on board on it. Not to make sure that, maybe see that some of us are not able to access because of being technologically bad and corruption watch. There are different forms of corruption, different forms. And when that model or that paper comes out from Transparency International, look at it. Just see what you can speak about the issue so that you get that healthcare governance issue well managed. We need to have health security as a country. And the UN stage, they're talking about health security. Are we ready for the next day of COVID? Are we ready? Now, there is that discussion that was happening on pandemic treaty and preparedness. They're still talking about it. We've made submissions. They're still negotiating countries. And maybe one day we'll have a semblance of world order that assures all countries, all people of healthcare that works. Do we need more healthcare laws, or should we consolidate all of them? Where should we go? So many things happening in the space, because as many laws as there are, as much confusion as it is. There's a law on malaria. There's probably a law tomorrow on cholera. So I don't know, but that is where we are. So new strategies, should we merge functions of MOH with the county governments and seek cooperation? Or should we re-centralize the issues? But there we are. So tomorrow we want to have medical tourism. Are we ready? Are we ready to compete with South Africa, with Egypt, with India? The other day, I think Tuesday or Monday, I don't know, some business persons want to have Kenyans still go to India or Germany or Sweden for healthcare. But we have doctors who can do some of these things. It is expensive because you have very few doctors. But in India, they have trained enough doctors. The ratio of doctors in India, the ratio is about 1 to 800. For every 800 people, there is a doctor. In Kenya, it's for every 17,000 people, there is a doctor. So those numbers, those ratios affect the cost of care. So, but we are on that journey as the years go by. So that's the kind of thing that we want. Maybe. We may not probably get that, but we want a functional, efficient, resilient, robust healthcare system that is well driven, that is attractive because we want revenue from other countries. We want Tanzanians, they keep coming, Rwandans keep coming because we are the best in the East African region. Nigerians still come here. So but we want to be that hub, but that hub cannot come without investment strategically being done with proper governance structures. That airport that you hear about in Singapore, it did just come because people are not keen on what they wanted. So, but they are all achievable and they are all doable. So I finished there. Thank you. And I'd want to hear from you on what you'd want to say about this subject. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Thank you so much, Dr. Another round of clap for Dr. For that very good presentation. I really must admit it was difficult stopping you because of the content and the informative presentation that we were given. And I just want to open the plenary or the floor for a round of questions. And I see there is a gentleman at the back. So because of time, 3 questions, 4 questions. So I'll just take the next 2 questions more, but we can start with the gentleman at the back.
Thank you so much, CS Dr. Kiema, and thank you so much, Dr. Kahura Mundia, for that amazing presentation. My name is Walter Ongeti, and I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Kenya Accreditation Service, KENAS. And before I talk about KENAS, I must congratulate you. And one of the things that I'm wishing to do when I grow up is to speak like you. And that's why I'm also vying to be a council member of the Institute. Maybe that political firebrand will also show up. But in the meantime, allow me to assure you that KENAS, and also assure the delegates in this conference, that KENAS does its work in a very, very, very professional manner, in a manner that is verifiable, in a manner that meets international standards. Indeed, we hold a mutual recognition arrangement and a multilateral agreement at the very international level, at the International Accreditation Forum, as well as the International Laboratories Accreditation Corporation. And we are also checked in the manner in which we do our work. Insofar as healthcare facilities are concerned, our role is to accredit medical laboratories that meet the standard ISO IEC 15189, which is to check the competence of and give assurance of the competence of medical laboratories. And to that extent, therefore, we are able to assess using the provisions of that particular standard and to check the competence and to ensure that these laboratories also participate in proficiency testing, and so much so that the test results that these medical laboratories provide are comparable on an international standard. And I want to give the assurance to that particular extent. Of course, even as we do that, there are scopes within which each laboratory would apply, and if you don't have competence in that extent, then we will not be able to accredit you in that regard. So you may find that a whole facility is not accredited by KENAS. We accredit specifically, like for healthcare facilities, we accredit the medical laboratories. And of course, we have also accredited KMPDU for registration of medical practitioners like yourself. And of course, even as the facilities continue with their work, we are now in the process of exploring a scheme that will accredit the whole facility so that the entire facilities can also be within the ambit of accreditation. Finally, I wish to, the second last, is that I wish to give the assurance that we still do surveillance and monitoring to ensure that all the facilities that we have accredited actually comply to the requirements of the standards. And where we find that there is non-compliance or non-conformity, then we proceed to take the necessary measures, including suspension, withdrawal, and so forth. Now, finally, I was very impressed by your presentation, and especially where you bite and chew in terms of the challenges that we are facing, but also the very wonderful compliments in some of the areas that government is making initiatives. And I wouldn't want to say I speak on behalf of the Ministry of Health or of government, but as a responsible government, a public servant, and then the spirit of collective responsibility then obtains, and I'm obligated to say something. I would then say that Kenya has grown over time, and I was glad to mention, and including the presenter, that we have grown over time to get to a level where we even have super specialists like yourself. We have even areas and parts of this country which are providing medical and healthcare support to not only the country but beyond the country. There is also, we are being benchmarked, and I know you are very aware of this, by other countries which are borrowing from our experiences, so much so that where we sit today, we would want to build on the gains that we have made, and it's a journey that we are all going to walk together. And therefore, the assurance that we should have is that as much as things are tough, that the future is extremely bright. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is CS Linda Naminda. I will not say that I'm running for council, and I will not also say that I'm asking for your votes. Instead, I will ask a question. I know that as KMPDU, you normally really rally for your members, the interns, the salaries, and all that. But I'm interested in knowing, do you as practitioners call out on quote-unquote fake doctors? Because I know lawyers, we will tell on someone who's masquerading. The CSs also, sometimes you need to upload your practicing certificate. But most of the time for the doctors, it's the patients who come out. So do you have the courage in the spirit of ethical leadership and restoring trust to actually call out the fake ones? Thank you.
Thank you, CS. Good. Then the last question is FCS. As an extension to that question, then the last,
Thank
the
you.
very last.
Thank you. My name is CS Dr. Muteti. And in addition to what CS has asked, as concerns the medical experts, we seem to be aware that some of the specializations do not qualify or are not issued with the specialist licenses. Is it possible for whoever is responding to clarify which specializations do not issue specialist licenses? Thank you.
And lastly, Honorable Ekwethuro.
In the interest of my own health, allow me to stand. First is to thank Daktari for a very brilliant presentation, and I support your cause. But I want to know your opinion. I think I have an idea, but I want you to make it abundantly clear. I was in Naivasha for the final decision on the Constitution. And I'm committed to devolution. Because when I went to Parliament, I got 17 nurses to go to Turkana. I got 300 teachers to go to Turkana. All of them transferred. And there was not a single doctor in Turkana. So for the rural Kenyan, devolution means everything. So when doctors are agitating for a national commission, we get a bit worried that the gains from devolution might not be realized with that kind of arrangement.
Thank you. Thank you. Dr.
Thank you. So I want to begin with the senior, Uturo. Well, devolution actually has worked. Mandera, Wajir, they never used to have doctors. Turkana, and no one wanted to go there. Because no one wants to work 600 kilometers away. And you're compensated like the persons in Nairobi. So economically, those areas should attract. And when devolution came in, Turkana, Wajir, they were paying flights and accommodations, like 2 weekly flights, and everything was given, and the doctors did come. And that's how Wajir, Mandera, Turkana have managed to get doctors on board. Lamu is still struggling, but doctors are available. If they are well kept, with the issues well taken care of, they will come. So it's an issue of just balancing welfare matters, and it does work. Now, doctors have been asking for Health Service Commission, because we see the TSC, JSC, NPSC, what else? Everyone has a public service commission for themselves. So and they all went into the Constitution to bury themselves there so that they are protected. Well, as doctors, I don't know what happened in 2010 at Naivasha, but they said, let's try and enjoy devolution. And right now, because of issues of mismanagement of welfare matters, salary delays, lack of remittance, your pay is not paid, your loans are not paid for, your NHIF is not paid for. So you feel so frustrated, you remember the good days when you were centralized. And that's how doctors say we want a central system, like TSC, that coordinates and distributes doctors wherever they want to be needed. And maybe through something like NMS, there can be a coordination intergovernmentally to have all these people distributed in some of these places and ensure that their welfare matters are well kept. But the presidency has also tried to talk about it. He ran away from it in the manifesto. And maybe, just like the other day, the new CS says, it's a conversation that we must all have. What is devolution? Is it the doctor near you at the village? Or is it the facility near you at the village? Or both? And if the doctor went back centrally, will you feel you've been shortchanged? So it's a tricky question. Because again, governors have also enjoyed the emoluments that come. See, when the money's come for the salaries, and it's a lot of, it's like the amount of money that builds up the wage bill. You put it somewhere for like a day or a month or a week. They have arrangements with the banks to get interest, commissions, and all that. So if that revenue source goes away, will you want it to go away? So they also fight back and say, we want that money to keep coming because we can reuse it somewhere and make everyone happy. But the doctors don't look at it that way. They look at the welfare point of view so that they're able to consciously do their work without such crises. But it's a conversation that we have to speak about it. And from the union point of view, myself and others, we have been quiet about it. We just waiting yourselves as Kenyans to pick it up and bring it up. And when the time comes and there is amendment of the constitution, depending on what we want, we will speak strongly to what direction we want to go as a people. But either way, we want every Kenyan at the villages to be served. On CS, Dr. Muteti, medical experts and lack of specialist licenses. There's a peer review system on the websites, and there's a council that sits to sit and accredit. But because of protectionism, today we have malariologists, diabetologists, whichever small thing that comes up as a specialty. And the persons who trained earlier, they feel you must do the 5-year course, 3-year course for you to become a specialist. And you cannot become a specialist because you've done a 6-month certification. Because those certificates are all over all in India, everywhere you go, you'll find a certificate for 6 months. And if you've not done the foundational work, then you cannot be a specialist in it. You just did a short course and you cannot claim specialty. So in those committees, they block some of those things. But maybe in years to come, there will be a special categorization of those kind of people. On the websites of these regulators, you'll find each doctor with the qualifications and what specialty they are in listed alongside their names and licenses. On CS Linda Naminda, you are not asking for votes, you say. Thank you. Fake doctors. Today, the CAJ, there's something I was pushing up from January. We were here last year in November, in the Kenya Dental Association conference. And the regulator, KMPDC, they were here with us. And they were speaking about medical negligence, quackery, malpractice. They were here with us, just like I'm standing here. And they spoke strongly about it for an hour and a half. But they're still not doing what they're supposed to do. And today, the CAJ, Commissioner of Administration of Justice, has given them 7 days to provide information on those quacks, whatever they're doing that is not proper regulation. And like you've heard from Kenas, as I go to that, they have accredited the institution to accredit facilities because they feel they can only, I don't know it's the other scope, but there is processes of how institutions should be accredited. So in some countries like the US, you have the Joint Commission, Aga Khan, Gertrude's, Mata, they have it because they try to make sure that everyone in the healthcare space, even if it's a cleaner, they're doing the right thing and their protocols will be followed. So that function for a long time has been held by the KMPDC, the regulator. And maybe they've not been doing a wonderful job on it, and they're working on it. But it's somewhere that we need to work on. So that's why you as a Kenyan, you write to them and ask, give me this information about this and that facility, about this doctor. And that's why as time goes by, we build up on these incremental gains to achieve that open transparency to know what is happening. So I have requested for information from the regulator on quacks in the field of dentistry. If you go to Isili, if you go to Isiolo, go to Mandera, you'll probably not be seen by a dentist. You'll probably be seen by someone who's claiming to be a dentist. Either because dentistry is a quiet profession, and there's a lot of need, and many county governments are not working on it, but it's something that needs to come out so that we get to have regulations that are transparent for everyone to benefit on healthcare and dental access needs. Again, speaking on dentistry, SHA does not cover some of these things because it's like a forgotten area. You pay 10,000 shillings for your SHA, but it's only medical. What happens to your mouth? The mouth is not part of your body, they say. So you speak as much, but pay out of pocket for it. So that paying out of pocket is a conversation that must be had. So that SHA must at least provide a general essential package for all of us. So to CEO, Mr. CS Walter Ngeti, you're doing a wonderful job at Kenas, and I suspect that in the next few years to come, you'll accredit the whole facility, and not just the lab. There's a lot that happens in those institutions, and accreditation cannot be piecemeal, in my view. It should be something holistic, and probably even partner with other bodies, so that we all conform to the standard that we have set. So the laws are not for filling the internet. They are for us to implement them as they speak to us, because there's something that we derive, that benefit, that common good that we all aspire for as a people, because we must live with the spirit of the Constitution, Article 43, 1A. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Daktari. There is one of mentees who I met, and she told me that she works for a pharma company as a CS. I think she would be appropriate to appreciate our speaker. Is she around? Yes, please come. And as she comes, Daktari, you mentioned that you did law and you are now considering arbitration. I would like to beseech you to consider CS as well. And in this bag, we traditionally say that there is no money, but I'm going to put something more than money, which is a guide to become a company secretary, and you would get to learn so many pathways that actually can become a CS in this. So CS here will help me put it in here so that Daktari, Makofi to Daktari. So next time we invite you for the conference because of the easier avenues of becoming a CS by virtue of becoming an advocate and other things, you'll also come as a member. So thank you so much. Please appreciate Daktari.